Attack on Titan has some of the best, if not the best, plot twists in all fiction. It's hard not to spoil the story when talking about the good parts of the show, as they're mainly done for the narrative. I'll make sure the video is spoiler free for the people that haven't seen the show yet. If you're like me and watched Attack on Titan when it came out, it's been a journey, as the first season came out in 2013. It's been 9 years. I'm getting 12. Some might argue that I'm a little bit invested after 9 years, which could be the reason why I wasn't expecting some of the plot twists and character developments to happen later in the show. While some of the characters aren't that good, they get developed and they grow on you throughout the first season. This only gets more enforced throughout all the different seasons. As I grew up watching these fictional characters, they grew up. As I changed and learned, so did they. It's weird to say, but the fact is this made the characters more relatable. I honestly believe I was the exact target audience for the show throughout its whole creation. After consuming the content of Attack on Titan for such a long period of time, I've kind of come to the realization that I believe it is the best narratively in the long term when it's compared to other anime. It truly takes the idea of evolving the story to the extreme compared to other shows that try to develop their narrative structure. Most stories have a simple path, and that's forward. However, in this story, especially in the later sections, we get looped back to everything that happened in the prior episodes, which I think is just a way better way of writing, and it kind of creates better foreshadowing, better characters, a better world. Truly, it makes it feel way more polished and thought through. Within the first episode, the stakes are set straight away. We know what the main character's goal is, and we've seen that horrific events that he has witnessed. These exact events are what structure the whole character throughout the whole story, and honestly are the reason for almost every choice that the character makes. In most shonens or action shows, you have a character that pretty much doesn't care at all and just reacts purely of instinct. Whilst this character does similar things, especially throughout the first couple of seasons, he very much evolves, and every single choice that he makes in the past also makes more sense. One of the greatest things about the story is that it goes full circle, really developing every character and the choices they make throughout the whole show. The main character is not the only one that gets this treatment, however, he's the one that's mainly focused on. This is the exact same thing that happens to the actual story, as at the start, we don't really know a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are shrouded in mystery. And there is always a reason why we don't know about things, to create tension and honestly create stakes for the whole world. Without this, I genuinely believe that the story would be boring, as there would be no stakes and there would be no reason for you to even be interested in the narrative. While some stories don't branch out and introduce other nations or possibly other countries, this actually becomes one of the focal points later on in the story. Stories avoid adding other nations or countries most of the time because they would have to introduce conflict and the way they function against each other. However, Attack on Titan is not scared of this, and actually they do a pretty amazing job of introducing these topics later on rather than overflowing you with information in the early parts of the story, where you're mainly learning about how things work. I've spoken about the idea of actually slowly introducing information after the base idea was introduced to a world, and honestly that's probably the best way to structure a story, and that's something that Attack on Titan does amazingly. Rather than overflowing you with information that's very key, in the first 2 seasons we're only giving a little bit of the key information that later gets developed into the big stuff. After we learn about all the characters and the key aspects of the show, that's when we start getting introduced to the actual big plot points. There are obviously other good things about the show, like the action, the animation. However, I do think the narrative is very much the thing that stands out in Attack on Titan, as the story writing and the character writing are one of the best I've ever witnessed. It's rare that I find the characters actually being questioned for their choices and given proper answers. There's also philosophy that almost gets talked about at some points, especially later on, when it comes to the psyche and the way people make choices and why they like people, why they do things. It's a very interesting story that, it actually goes onto these subjects. I do find that the main character actually manipulates some people that are his best friends to later make a choice that influences the story massively. One thing that I feel like I must mention is that a lot of people aren't happy with the ending that hasn't been animated yet. However, I found the ending to be amazing, and honestly it makes sense, as everything in the story makes sense. The more you really look into the choices that are made within the narrative, the more everything makes sense. The story gets a 10 out of 10 as it's complete. Obviously the anime hasn't quite completed it yet, but it's a complete story, and I'm actually very happy with every path that it takes. As for the characters get a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love the character writing. I believe that every development and evolution process that the characters go through, and it all makes sense. Honestly, a lot of stories don't even give proper character development. So I'm very happy with the way it's done in this story. The action gets a 9 out of 10 for me, as I absolutely love the way tension is built, the scenes are very impactful, and it just feels very well done. It also always presents the possibility of characters dying, which I feel should be a more continuous thing that happens in action shows. The sound gets an 8.5 out of 10. You can really feel the impact in certain scenes, the effects that are placed in certain abilities and stuff like that is very well done. However, I do feel like it could have been done just that little bit better. Animation gets an 8.5 out of 10 from me, as it's very good, very consistent. However, I do feel like certain scenes could have been done better. I want you to understand that I'm kind of nitpicking here, because honestly the animation could be rated higher. I just am being very picky with certain scenes that got done in 3D and stuff like that. Also, the animation studio did get changed, which I feel like might have influenced my rating here. Overall, the show gets a 46 out of 50, a pretty good rating, and it's actually amongst some of our best shows, which I do think Attack on Titan is absolutely amazing, and I know a lot of people on it for like the story and how it ends, but I just don't think it's that bad. I actually think it's really good. I hope you enjoyed my kind of review of Attack on Titan without any spoilers. If you did like it, hit the like button, subscribe, put a comment if you want to talk about the show, maybe the parts that you liked, anything, or maybe you have some recommendations. Maybe you want me to review a specific show. Put it in the comments, and we'll try to get to it as quick as possible. Just know that we have a little bit of a list of shows to create videos on. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great day.